There it is. In our Class 1, we should have Kylie Bosick, Luke Swearingen, Logan Ream, Drew Schultz, and Kristen Ream. Yeah, that is. And then you can just put them in the buckets and trainers and everything. Well, maybe I better put my mask on, you reckon, if I'm not. We'll have Kylie Bosick, Luke Luke Swearingen, Logan Ream, Drew Schultz, and Kristen Ream.
Great way to start the dairy show here today with a really nice class of feeder steers. Bear with me, I've got some technology I'm working with. I'm just trying to get used to it, but very high quality class to get started. And before I start, I'll just give you a little introduction about myself. My name is Justin Steerwalt. I reside up in Fountain County near Hillsboro, Indiana. I raise some beef cattle. I have Simmental and Angus cattle that we primarily focus on, but I do travel throughout the Midwest and judge multiple amounts of species and just enjoy spending time with youth and teaching you guys and just giving back as much as I can. So as we get this class out here, I think we've got a really nice class to start with. Good group of feeder calves. I think the two steers that start up on the top, and you can go ahead and start leading that first steer. He's the combination steer of our calves in second and third, in my opinion. I think he's got the build and balance of the young man's black calf that's going to be in second. I love the flexibility and just how sure-footed he is. He balances really well in his top line and out through his hip. But yet as you get him behind him, he's still got some skeletal width and power like our calf in 3 does. I think he's just the combination one to land on in the class. The black one that comes in 2 from the side profile, I think he's as good as any. Love how he hinges his neck so high on the front side of his shoulder. He's big-footed, he's heavy structured, balances very, very well. Again, as I get right in behind him and compare him back to that red calf, he wants to funnel just a little bit through his lower hip and twist, just narrow up a shot as he goes directly to the ground. Young lady brings us a bigger frame, longer bodied steer, and with that, he's still probably the most muscular, widest base steer in the class, and I really appreciate that about him. Again, its balance, I think, is what kind of sorts him down in this class. The deepest part on him is his chest, and I think if we can just tuck him up in his chest and deepen him there in his flank, relax him a bit in his spine, I think that could balance him up way better, and I think maybe he could certainly work his way to the top. The 2 calves that round out the class, steer that comes next. You like from the profile, you like his center body, you like his attractiveness up front. He just flattens up and narrows up too much as he goes directly away from me, flattens up too much in his rib. Same goes for the Jersey appearing steer that's going to round out our drive. He's one of the frailer made ones, but again, a steer you like for his flexibility and his center body, just needs more muscle and more power. Good way to start our starter calf show. Give those kids a round of applause.
First place in our starter steer, Class 1, went to Logan Ream. Second place went to Drew Schultz. Third place went to Kristen Ream. Fourth place went to Kylie Bosick. Fifth place went to Luke Swearingen. Let's bring in our Class 2, Paul Wagner.
Just a single entry in this heavier class, but again, I think a steer that offers a lot of quality that I sure appreciate. He's flexible and good at the ground. He balances well. He's got some rib about him. Then as you get right in behind him, he's a calf that I think's got enough in terms of muscle shape at this stage of the game. I think he's got a real nice project. Let's congratulate him.
First place and first place homegrown went to Paul Wagner. Let's bring in our Class 1 first place, Logan Ream. Our first place in Class 2, Paul Wagner. This will be for our Champion Dairy starter steer. I know. I'm thinking, wow. Yeah. If it comes from the east,
really nice pair of steers as we get both of our class winners out here. And they're maybe a little different in their type and kind. Obviously, we've got quite a bit of a weight spread between the two, but I kind of toss that out the window and just break them down in terms of quality and which one I think's going to be the best fat steer on down the road. And once I do that, I think there's one that I think is just more of the combination steer. I think he's more powerful in relation to his frame. I think he's more genuine at the ground, but yet still balances up extremely well. I like that lightweight to be your champion. Let's congratulate him.
I think it was. Bryce, wasn't that Logan? Was that Logan? Was that Logan? Right here? Yeah, the lightweight. Okay. Your champion dairy starter steer went to Logan Ream. I guess. It's not on there, but... We brought in our second place, Drew Schultz, for our reserve champion.
We bring in the second place calf, and like I said, that was a very deep class all the way through. That was the calf that just in terms of skeleton and balance was as impressive as any. Maybe just didn't have quite as much muscle as our champion did, but I think one that still offers a lot of good. Again, they're both different in terms of their frame size, different in terms of their weight. I think there's one that's still more dimensional, more skeletal width, and just a truer type calf as you break them down at the ground, and then in terms of their dimension. I like that young man's second place to be your reserve. Let's congratulate him.
Your reserve champion of our starter steer went to Drew Schultz. Let's come in with our starter bulls. We'll have Class 3, Kaya Shaw, and Knox Manili.
Well, as we make our way into the bull show, the starter bull show, I think we've got two very high quality ones to start us off. I'm going to go ahead and start with the young lady's smaller calf up front. And I think they're both bulls that are built very, very correct at the ground and balance up incredibly well from the side. I think where the edge is when I get right in behind the pair and just study them for spread and rib shape up high. I think the young lady's calf's just got more turn and spread to his upper rib. As you go from there back, he's wider pinned, he's more muscular through his hip, and I think the biggest advantage is when you study him at the ground, I think he's easily squarer and more genuine underneath, particularly right there at his hock. The bull calf behind, I think, is definitely the growthier one, the larger framed one, and I really appreciate that about him. He probably ties his neck a little higher on the front side of his shoulder, stays a little leveler from his hooks to his pins. But like I mentioned, as I get right in behind him, I just want to have more of him for that extra frame he's got. He wants to hock in and narrow up too much as he goes right to the ground. But those two exhibitors do an excellent job, and let's give them a round of applause.
First place in our Class 3 starter bulls went to Kaya Shaw. Second place went to Knox Manili. Let's bring in our Class 4, Kristen Ream, Logan Ream, and Drew Schultz.
Really good class of bulls, and I think the top two are pretty close for me with the two red bulls. I think as I just get to studying them, especially as I break them down from behind and up high, I think the young lady's calf's just got more in terms of rib shape, more spread right out of the back of his shoulder. He's the big-hipped, masculine bull. Maybe one that maybe just gets a little plainer about his head and wants to tie his head a little lower up front. And I think that's where the bull in the second might get the edge. I think he's just a bit slicker, more attractive about his head and neck. He's a little higher in the way he ties it up front. From behind, again, he's one that just wants to hawk in just a shot from behind, be just a little flatter through his rib than the red calf that goes in first, but two really, really nice ones. Same goes for the calf here in 3. He's the one from growth and performance. You like a lot of things about him from that standpoint. He's still good and soft to the center part of his body. Again, as you get in behind him, he wants to turn his hawk in way more than I'd like to see. He's a calf that's maybe just in terms of that extra frame, just flattens a little more. But I think 3 really, really high-quality bulls. Let's congratulate those 3 exhibitors.
First place in our Class 4 of our starter bulls went to Kristen Ream. Second place, Logan Ream. And third place, Drew Schultz. Let's bring in our first place in Class 3, Kaya Shaw. First place in Class 4, Kristen Ream. This will be for our Champion Dairy Starter Bull.
Two really high-quality class winners, and again, they're a little different in their stages of maturity, but I think the similarities are they're cattle that are good at the ground and being very flexible and comfortable in their skeletons, yet they still balance and proportion well from the side, and everything fits in the 2 bulls. I think whenever it comes down to it, there's one that's just the more masculine calf that just offers a bit more of everything. Very high-quality pair of them, but I like that second-class winner to be your champion.
Our Champion Dairy Starter Bull went to Kristen Ream. Let's bring in Logan Ream, second place for our reserve.
Second place calf comes in, and as I mentioned in class, those 2 were really close, and that was a very, very hard pair to sort, and there's some things that I like about that one that I like better than our winner, so obviously it was close in class, and it's still close as we get him out here. He's going to be your reserve. Let's congratulate him.
Your reserve champion went to Logan Ream. Let's bring in our Champion Dairy Starter Steer, Logan Ream, and our starter bull, Kristen Ream. This will be for our Grand Champion Dairy Starter.
Well, as we get our bull and our steer out here for our supreme starter animal, I think two very high quality ones, and honestly, they're the the heaviest muscled ones that offer just the most genuine width and power, yet still being consistent in their skeleton, still balancing well from the side, and that's why they won their respective divisions. I guess whenever it comes down to it, it's probably one of the closer decisions so far for me today. I think when it comes down to it, there's one that just balances a shot better from the side. I read him more set back and more correct in the angle to his shoulder, fresher, more attractive up front, and just a shot better in his top line. Again, I think it's very close. Today, the steer's going to be your champion. Let's congratulate the young man.
Our grand champion dairy starter went to Logan Ream. Let's bring in our reserve steer would be Drew Schultz. Excuse me, it should be Logan Ream with his reserve for reserve. That's right. No, it should be, yeah.
It gets closer out here for reserve. I think you've got the extra masculinity, power, and rib in the bull. And yet I still think the steer's one that's very attractive up front and good built and good in terms of his lines. I think when it comes down to it, there's one that just offers more in terms, excuse me. Oh.
For our reserve champion, it would be coming in the ring is Drew Schultz.
We bring in the black calf, and as I mentioned, he's much like the one that came in. We just subbed in kind of a different model of it. Built very, very well, attractive, balanced, everything fits. Like I said, whenever it comes down to it, there's one that just packs more punch, more power, he's more rugged, and he's just bolder everywhere. I like the bull for reserve.
Your reserve grand champion starter steer went to Kristen Ream. Let's bring in our dairy females. We'll start with Class 4, our Holstein Spring Heifer, Kaya Shaw. First and champion, and grand champion.
You can stop her right there.
I think it's on a banner, probably.
just a single entry here and as we get into the Holsteins, but I think a female that could handle quite a bit of competition. Loads of quality in the young lady's heifer. One that, as you study her up front, so angular and correct at the top of her shoulder, yet still very attractive and feminine about her head and neck. And then from there back, she opens up into a good rib cage. She's got some width from hooks to her pins, and yet as you study her at the ground, you like her feet and legs. She's square as she goes away from me. Very, very nice female. Let's congratulate the young lady.
Your first place, your champion and grand champion of our Holstein female went to Kaya Shaw. Let's bring in our Class 5, our Jersey Spring Heifer, Owen Wagner.
You can stop her anywhere in there, buddy. Super high quality dairy calf, heifer calf to start our Jersey show. I think another one just built very similar to the Holstein female, and it all starts up front. Just how attractive and correct she is up through her shoulder, feminine headed and feminine necked, and yet from there back, still dead level down her spine, good through her rib cage, good through her hooks and pins, and yet still square and correct as you take her to the ground. I think the young man's got a nice female with a bright future. Let's congratulate him.
Your first place and first place homegrown in our Jersey Spring Heifer went to Owen Wagner. Let's bring in our Class 6, our Jersey Junior 2-year-old, Owen Wagner. Dairy exhibitors, you will be showing showmanship as soon as all the classes are done.
You're good.
Attention all 2020 fair exhibitors and guests. Please remember to practice social distancing as much as possible. When a distance of 6 feet cannot be maintained, face masks must be worn. Please continue to wash hands frequently or use hand sanitizer located at the entrance to each barn. Additional hand washing stations are located by the junior leaders concession stand and between the swine and sheep barn. And remember, exhibitors, you must have a mask on to show.
Young man brings us another very high quality female, and she's wanting to give him a little bit of a fit out here, but he's hanging in there and doing an excellent job. She's a heifer you really like through the center part of her body and just the extra turn and shape to her rib, but yet still a female that's still got some elegance and attractiveness, very correct and angular in terms of the way she's laid into her shoulder, still flexible and correct at the ground, though. He does an excellent job with her. Let's give him a hand.
First place and first place homegrown for our Jersey Junior 2-year-old went to Owen Wagner. Let's bring in our Class 7, our Jersey Junior 3-year-old, Claire Seifels.
You're good right there. Well, I think the Jersey show just keeps getting more competitive each round, and I think all these females that keep coming through are very, very high quality. Yet we still keep going up in age, and we're starting to see some udder capacity and being able to break some of that down. And I think this female is definitely not an exception. She still balances very, very well, stays attractive up front, sharp and angular there at the top of her shoulder. And then as I get back and study her udder, I like how far forward she is there, and when she ties into her fore udder, same goes from behind, and yet still flexible and functional. Still got some width to her. Nice female. Help me congratulate the young lady.
Your first place in Class 7 of our Jersey Junior 3-year-old went to Claire Seifels. Let's bring in our first place, Class 5, Owen Wagner. First place in Class 6, Owen Wagner. And first place in Class 7, Claire Seifels. This will be for our champion junior jersey.
Just follow right in behind them. You can just kind of stay out there, just stay head to tail. What's that?
You want me to flip them lights on?
Yeah, it's kind of getting a little darker. Three very high quality females as we got each of our Jersey class winners out here, and I guess we kind of represent each stage of the life cycles of these females. We've got a young heifer calf, and then we've got kind of a middle of the road 2-year-old, and then we've got our 3-year-old that's definitely showing some extra maturity to her, but still has extra substance and lots of capacity. I think 3 very high-quality ones all the way through. I don't know that you could necessarily go wrong with sorting either of them, any of the 3, because I think you can certainly justify it. I think for me, there's one that just probably shows quite a bit extra mass and substance, but yet still maintains correctness, balance, still has some very high-quality udder to her. The champion's going to come out of your old division. And then I think as we go back for reserve, there was one that hit me really hard when she came in class of just how good she's built and how correct she is everywhere. Just so attractive, and think she's got a very bright future. That's going to be the one out of our very first division. Let's give both the exhibitors and all three of them a big round of applause on an excellent Jersey show.
Your champion junior jersey went to Clara Seipels. Your reserve champion junior jersey went to Owen Wagner. Oh, yeah. Also, Owen is your champion homegrown. Let's bring in our Class 8, our Jersey senior 2-year-old, Paul Wagner. Each exhibitor is going to get a green bead bucket with their name on it, with all their awards after the show. We want to thank you to the Arvin family for the bucket.
Young man brings us another very nice heifer and does an excellent job. Just a good cow that has some power and dimension as you study her from behind, and having some extra rib shape to her. I like that about her. But yet, as you break her down on the profile, she's got lots of attractiveness up front. She's very high and sharp and neat as she lays there at the top of her shoulder. Just balances up extremely well, and I like her substance and just how good and correct she is in terms of her feet and legs. Very nice project for the young man. Let's congratulate him.
First place in our Class 8, junior, senior, 2-year-old, went to Paul Wagner. Let's bring in our Class 9, our Jersey 4-year-old, Mallory Sutherland.
You can take her in another 10
We
or
want
15
to say
feet.
a big thank you to all of our 2020 Clay County 4-H Fair sponsors. We have First Farmers Bank and Trust, Great Dane,
Right there's fine. Yep.
Redound National Bank, First Financial Bank, Agrigold, Matt Kennedy, and Pig Implement. Our banner sponsors are Highway 40 Pool and Spa, Clearview Windows, Butt Seed Service, Technofab, Junior Leaders, Clay County Sheriff's Department, Cork's Dust Control, Miller and Stewart CPA, Clay County Furnace, French Funeral Home, Crowder Lawn and Garden.
Young lady brings us a real nice cow. Again, as I mentioned on some of the other classes, combinations are what I'm looking for, and I think she's one that represents that very well. From a dairy standpoint, we can go back and talk about udder and just the awesome capacity that she's got. Still very high quality in terms of teat. Good as you study her and just how consistent she is on each compartment. I think her attachments are good on both ends. think still a very high quality udder. And then we talk about the cow herself. You love the extra rib shape she's got in her, her balance, and yet still stays very attractive and correct at the ground. Very nice, high quality female. Let's congratulate her.
First place in Class 9 of our Jersey 4-year-old. First place in Class 9 of our Jersey 4-year-old went to Mallory Sutherland. She's also first place homegrown. Let's bring in our Class 8 for our Jersey Senior 2-year-old, Paul Wagner. Our Class 9, our Jersey 4-year-old, Mallory Sutherland. This will be for our champion senior jersey.
Well, as we get both of our class winners out here in the senior division, I think they both offer loads of quality. I think you could go either way here. The young man's one that's extra tall-shouldered and neat and clean up top, attractive up front. She might not have quite just the boldness and capacity yet as our one behind her. But as I mentioned, that one behind her, love just how the combination of this one, so bold and robust through the center part of her rib, yet still balances well. She's attractive. And then we've got the udder to study, and as I said, still very impressive in just how nice she is, through her teat structure, still being that much capacity, having that good of attachments. I'm going to use her as your champion. Young man will be reserved. Let's congratulate those two exhibitors.
Your champion senior jersey went to Mallory Sutherland. Your reserve champion senior jersey went to Paul Wagner. Let's bring in Clara Seipels, junior champion, junior jersey, and our Class 9 junior jersey 4-year-old Mallory Sutherland for our grand champion jersey female.
Two very similar types and kinds as we get our two division champions out here. I think they both made it through their divisions of being good and flexible and correct in their feet and legs, but yet still being dimensional as you study them through the center parts of their bodies. And when I get behind them, I think they're both females that have some width and some feature to them. I think they still balance up well and stay very, very correct. I think when it comes down to it, again, I think there's one that just offers just a shot more of everything while still doing it in a very correct and ladylike package. I like the senior champion to be your champion jersey. Let's congratulate the young lady. You're gonna stay out. You can go out though.
Your grand champion Jersey female went to Mallory Sutherland. Let's bring in Paul Wagner, reserve champion New Jersey for a reserve.
Well, as it comes down to reserve overall jersey, again, two females that are very, very high quality, maybe just a little different in terms of their type and kind, and that's okay. For me, I think there's one, as I get right in behind them, I think she's squarer, more genuine from hock to ground. I think she's just a bit bolder through the center part of her body. Two very nice females, but for me today, your reserve is going to be the young ladies junior division. Put your hands together for all of our jersey exhibitors on an excellent show.
Your reserve grand champion Jersey female went to Claire Seifels. Let's bring in our Class 10, our milking Shorthorn spring heifer, John Arvin.
Very high quality milking shorthorn heifer calf, and she's wanting to throw her head around and fight the lead just a little bit, but when she relaxes and just kind of throws her head up there, she's very, very attractive up front. She's long-necked and feminine about her head. Love the angle to her shoulder. Love her top line and just that extra length and levelness from her hooks to her pins. She's good and correct on her feet and legs. Nice project for the young man. Let's congratulate him.
Our first place in our milking Shorthorn spring heifer went to John Arvin. Let's bring in our Class 11 of our milking Shorthorn winter heifer, John Arvin.
young man brings us another very high quality female, and one that comes in just with the same build and balance as the younger one that he had brought in before. You love just how elegant and attractive she is up front, good in her lines from there back, but I think she's one that just adds some extra capacity and dimension, still being good and true on her feet and legs. I think another very high quality female. Let's congratulate him as he exits.
First place in Class 11 of our Milking Shorthorn winner heifer went to John Arvin. Let's bring in our Class 12 Milking Shorthorn Spring Yearling, John Arvin.
Well, the young man just continues to bring nice females after nice females as we just continue to go through these age groups. And I think definitely one that still offers a lot in terms of balance and attractiveness. Maybe a little more frame size than this female, and she's one that's extra tall and high at the point of her shoulder. I like how she's wedged in there nice and neat and so attractive up front, but I think one that still offers enough in terms of dimension and capacity. Another very high quality female.
First place in our Milking Shorthorn Spring heifer went to John Arvin. Let's bring in Class 13 of our Milking Shorthorn Junior 2-year-old, John Arvin.
And yet another really nice cow comes out, very high quality, attractive fronted, yet still as I start to study this one's udder, I like how high and neat she is there in her rear, there as she attaches to the rear. I think she's very consistent and balanced in terms of each side. I think her teats are very correct in terms of their size and the direction as well. Another very high quality female. Let's congratulate him.
First place in our Class 13 Milking Shorthorn Junior 2-year-old went to John Arvin. Let's bring in our Class 10 of our Milking Shorthorn Spring heifer, John Arvin. First place in Class 11 Milking Shorthorn Winter heifer, John Arvin. First place in Class 12 of our Milking Shorthorn Spring yearling, first place, John Arvin. First place in Class 13 our Milking Shorthorn Junior 2-year-old, John Arvin. This will be for our Grand Champion Milking Shorthorn female.
Well, this young man certainly provided us with an excellent group of milking Shorthorn, and I can commend him for the consistency that he's had in each one of these females. I think they're all very high quality, and it all starts with just how they're designed and how they're built. I think that's a very good trend without all of them. I think they're very good on their feet and legs. I love the angles to their shoulder and just how they balance and portray from the side. I think there's a pair of them that, for me, just offer a shot more dimension to the center part of their bodies. I think they're females that are just very, very high quality. And again, like I've mentioned, they're the ones that combine the unique things of having some substance and still being very high quality. Your champion's going to be out of the final class. Reserve will be out of the second class. Let's give them all a big round of applause on a very good group of milking Shorthorns.
Your grand champion milking Shorthorn went to John Arving with his 2-year-old. And John Arving was also our reserve grand champion milking Shorthorn female. Now we're going to show for our Supreme Dairy female. We're going to bring in our Holstein, Kaya Shaw, our Jersey, Mallory Sutherland, and our Shorthorn, John Arvin. Reserve would be, we'll just have to look and see.
Well, the dairy female show's sure been fun, and I think 3 very high-quality ones to surface out here in our champion Supreme Female Drive. Again, like I mentioned in several of the classes, it all starts at the ground and just how correct they are in their skeletons, how their angles are right. I think even as we go our way up, all our way up, I think they're all balanced and feminine, attractive females. I think for me, when it comes down to it, there's one that was just a bit overwhelming in just the way she could just be unique in the way she was attractive and correct, yet still be very bold and dimensional. And then as we talk about her udder, that's a high-capacity udder that I think is very correct in terms of her front attachment or rear attachment, very, very balanced all the way through. The Jersey's going to be your Supreme. Let's congratulate that young lady. You guys stay in here.
For our reserve. Again, our Supreme Dairy female went to Mallory Sutherland.
Well, and as we get out for reserve, I think there's one that kind of fell in line pretty handily for me and just kind of logically fell in right behind that impressive champion. I think she's another one that's built a lot like her. She just maybe wasn't out there and just quite as overwhelming in a certain area or two, but I think very high quality. The young man brought us a bunch of really good ones, and he's got one out here in the Grand Drive. She's going to be reserved, the milking Shorthorn. Let's congratulate him.
Your reserve Supreme Dairy female went to John Arvin.
How many classes of big steers have you got?
Now we're going to get ready to do steers.
Okay. Okay.
I need our Class 15 Holstein steer, Kaya Shaw. Remember, exhibitors, after the Grand Champion Dairy steer, we're going to go right into our showmanship.
Anywhere in there will be fine. How are you today? I'm good. You know what your steer weighed, or roughly? That's okay. Well, as we get back rolling and shifting gears and getting into the market side of things with our finished dairy steers, I think as we get our Holstein lightweight class out here, I think a steer that offers a lot of quality, balance as well. He's very practical and pliable through the center part of his rib, and I think still opens up with plenty of spread up high as I get right in behind him. He's got some width back through his pins and stays genuine at the ground. Nice steer to get us started. Let's give her a round of applause.
First place in our Class 15 of our Holstein steers went to Kaya Shaw. Let's bring in Class 16, Zachary Swearingen.
Anywhere in there's okay, bud. How you doing today? I'm doing good. Really a powerfully built kind of a steer to come out in our second class of Holstein steers. Big-footed, heavy-structured. You like him through the center part of his body and just his extra turn, and yet still stay soft and pliable through his center rib. I like how flexible and functional he is out of his hip. He's got some width back through his pins. He's still got some genuineness as he goes to the ground. I think a nice steer to go ahead and lead us off here. Let's congratulate him as he exits the ring.
First place in Class 16 went to Zachary Swearingen. Let's bring in Class 17, Brent Weitzel. I'll finish with our banner sponsors. We have Maurizio's Pizza Brazil, American Legion Post 2, The Farm and Company,
You're okay right there. You
Farm
can
Bureau
just
Insurance,
set him up there.
Micah Bono, and Chad Schotmeyer, Rudolph Home Mortgage, Justin Campbell, St. Mary's of the Woods College, Alicia Reed Thomas, Green Crop Services, Napa, Brazil, Terre Haute Savings Bank, Tumble Express, Steve's Lawn Care, Cook Trucking, R. Boo and Sons, Kent Boo, and Brick Craft.
The young man brings us a really nice heavier weight steer, and obviously he comes to us with the most maturity out of any of those three classes, but he also comes to us with the most muscle, the highest degree of finish as we talk about condition. He's still a steer that balances up well from the side. You love his extra softness in terms of his foot and pastern and his ability to get out and reach and still be flexible. Nice steer to go ahead and win. Let's give him a round of applause.
First place in Class 17 went to Brent Weitzel. Let's bring in our Class 15. First place, Kaya Shaw. First place in Class 16, Zachary Swearingen. And first place in Class 17, Brent Weitzel. This will be for our champion Holstein steer.
Good trio of Holstein steers, and I think three of them that are built right and balanced and proportioned well from the side. I think as I start to break them down from a fundamental market animal standpoint, though, there's a pair of them that maybe soared up a little bit quicker. And again, as I get my hands on them and start to just read in terms of back shape and just spread out of the back of their shoulder, still having some finish to them and still being the most correct, I think there's one that's just closer to 12 o'clock and just offers more product and more power. That's the heavyweight. He's going to be your champion. And then we'll follow up with a second class for reserve. Let's give all three of them a big round of applause.
Your champion Holstein steer went to Brent Weitzel. Your reserve champion Holstein steer went to Zachary Swearingen. Let's bring in our Class 16, our jersey, Claire Seifels.
That's good. Got a nice, easy doing kind of a steer here in our Jersey class. It comes to us in a bit more of a moderate package. I think a steer is you just study him up high. He's got some spread and width and dimension down his top. He's bold through the center part of his rib, and yet as you get him behind him, I think he's still one that's got enough just in terms of power out through his pins. He's square and genuine as he goes to the ground. Still stays flexible out here. I think she's got a nice Jersey calf. Let's give her a round of applause.
First place of our Jersey in Class 16, and our champion went to Clara Seifels. Let's bring in our Dairy Cross Class 17, Brent Weitzel.
Hold still, buddy. Nice calf to start our Dairy Cross division, and I think one that time is definitely on his side as we talk about just how he's going to mature. I think he's a little later and greener in his maturity pattern, but that's okay for his size. I think he's a steer that's got some rib about him. He's attractive and balanced from the side. He's good and correct at the ground. He's wide back through his pins, and I think from there down stays genuine and square. Nice calf to go ahead and start with our lightweights. Let's give him a round of applause.
First place in our Class 17, Dairy Cross, went to Brent Weitzel. Let's bring in Class 18, Emily Swearingen, Kristen Ream, and Logan Ream.
Let's go ahead and take them in side by side. Okay, we're going to go ahead and walk them, and you'll start us off. Go ahead and bring them this way. Go right down the middle and then turn and come back up here. Oh, let's spin him and take him the other way. There you go. He'll show you. Young lady, you can bring him right over here. Take him right in there. You'll be first. Really nice class of dairy cross fat steers. And as we get up here, our young man steer that's going to lead off with us, I think that's the one that's the combination steer of our calves in 2 and 3. I think he's got enough muscle as you just read him right out of the back of his shoulder. Is he just as explosive and powerful as our calf in second? No, he's not. But I think he's definitely built better in terms of his skeleton. He's laid in neater about his shoulder. He's more attractive and more extended up front. I think he gets out and reaches and grabs the surface better on both ends of his skeleton. Yet I think he still offers enough as you get right in behind him. He's wide pinned, he's wide and genuine underneath, and he's got plenty in terms of shape and spread for me up high. Young lady steering 2, that's the powerhouse of the class, and that's definitely without a doubt. He's big and massive as you get your hands on him. He's powerful from behind, really wide everywhere. For me in this class, he's maybe pushing it a little more from a condition standpoint, particularly as you study him up through his chest and brisket, kind of throws him off balance just a little bit. And as we ask the cattle to lead, he's the tightest in terms of his skeleton. He's the most open about his shoulder. I'd just like to see him get out and stay more comfortable as we get him out in terms of motion. Then the young lady closes with the steer, the solid black steer. You love the height of the shoulder. You love how he's extra growthy and has some length of body about him. He balances up well. He's very sound in terms of his skeleton. From a product and meat animal shape standpoint, though, he's the flattest and lightest muscled as you get your hands on him. You want to see him more powerful and wider going away. 3 very good steers in this class. Let's give them all a big round of applause.
First place in Class 18 went to Logan Ream. Second place went to Kristen Ream. And third place went to Emily Swearingen. Let's bring in our first place from Class 17, Brent Weitzel. Our first place in Class 18, Logan Ream. This will be for our champion dairy cross steer.
We get our 2 crossbred class winners out here, and I think both very, very high quality steers that are built for the long haul as you just break them down at the ground and then study them from a side profile and talk about how they balance and silhouette from the side. Again, as I get my hands on them and get right behind them, I think there's one that just offers quite a bit more of everything from a product, a width, and just a finish standpoint. I think he's further along in his maturity pattern, again, just closer to 12 o'clock. Your champion's going to be out of that second class. Congratulate him for me.
Your champion dairy cross steer went to Logan Ream. Let's
You're
bring
gonna stay
in
out for reserve.
Kristen Ream, second place for our reserve.
We bring in that second place, and as I mentioned in class, that one's really, really intriguing, and just how massive he is and how impressive he is when you get your hands on him and just study him from a muscularity standpoint. He's got tons of spread up high and width everywhere. As I mentioned, if we could tweak him in a spot or two structurally, that would have pushed our champion even harder and maybe could have flip-flopped that pair. That pair's awfully close. I think there's just too much calf there to beat him. He's going to be reserved. Let's congratulate the young lady.
Your reserve dairy cross steer went to Kristen Ream. Brent Weitzel with Holstein and Jersey's Claire Seifels, right? Let's bring in our Holstein, Brent Weitzel, our Jersey, Claire Seifels, and our cross, Logan Ream. This will be for our grand champion dairy steer. What's that? We've got showmanship, and that's it. Yeah.
Well, as we get all of our steer winners out here, I think very high quality calves all the way around it. And we're starting to round out towards the end of the show. I know we've still got showmanship to go, but again, I want to thank you guys for having me down to Clay County. The steers and the heifers and then the feeders have all been incredible. And I guess I want to commend the extension staff, the dairy committee, the superintendents, all the volunteers involved. Thank you guys for helping these kids get in the ring this year. I know this has been a challenging year. Nothing's really been normal in 2020, but you guys have done everything you could to make these kids have a somewhat normal and as normal as possible fair experience. So let's give everybody that's had a part in this a big round of applause. And then as we start to talk about the steers, I think very high quality ones all the way through, and you can make a case for each one. I think as we talk the Holstein, that's a big high product driven type steer that's got muscle. He's got some width and stoutness of feature. He's one that maybe just doesn't balance up quite as well as some of the others, but I think a steer, if you just talk about sheer mass and power, you got to appreciate that about him. And then the young lady's Jersey calf. That thing's got a lot of muscle and power in him for a Jersey. I think he's very good in terms of his finish and correct. He's a steer that you like at the ground. I think he still balances up pretty acceptable. I think it's just a steer that kind of brings a lot of everything to the table, just maybe doesn't overwhelm you in a certain area or two. And then we've got the crossbred steer. I think one that you really like as you get your hands on him. Easily the most massive, the squarest, the most dimensional. I think a steer as you get off and view him on the profile, that one's still fresh and attractive up front. He's good in his lines. He's flexible as he gets out and goes. I think it's close between all three of them. There's give or take. For me, the most complete one today is Young Man's Dairy Cross. Let's congratulate him.
Your grand champion dairy steer went to Logan Ream. We need to bring in our reserve, Kristen Ream, for our reserve grand champion dairy steer.
We bring in that reserve cross, and as I mentioned, he's extreme in a few areas and very intriguing. Again, structure is where we want to fix him and maybe just freshen him up all the way together. I think it's close, but for me, there's another one that between the three just checks the most boxes. Again, maybe doesn't overwhelm you in a certain area, but he just brings enough of everything to the table in a good, balanced, complete package. Young lady's jersey is going to be reserve.
Your reserve grand champion dairy steer went to Clara Seipels. Also, we want to recognize our champion rate of gain dairy steer. It went to Emily Swearingen. Her steer gained 3.18 pounds a day. We're going to get ready to do our showmanship. We'll have our junior, grades 3 through 5. We'll have Mallory Sutherland and Knox Benelli.
Since there's a couple of you, we'll go ahead and take you in and go that way with them. You can turn in anywhere. You're going to go in there and line up to the right of her. You just go right in there. Take her up just a little further. There you go, that's fine. How are you today? Tell me something you like about her and then something you'd like to change about her.
I mean, that's not a lot about it. One thing I would change about it is like the top line. It's not very straight.
Okay, yep. All right.
I was not a big fan of that.
Okay, all right, good job. How are you today?
Good.
Tell me something you like about your calf and something you'd like to change.
I also love good.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't really like to change.
Okay.
Himself.
He is. Good job. Okay, let's go ahead and walk them. Bring her right back this way. Take her straight down the middle and then turn right and come back along the fence. Well, I think we've got two super competitive showmen out here for our junior division. I think you both do awesome, and just the way you can have some intensity about you, but still mask it with still being calm, cool, and collected. You guys are very relaxed in just the way you guys present yourselves, and I like that about it. As we get them out here, I think you both do an awesome job at just having some eye contact and just knowing where I'm at in the ring. I think when it comes down to it, one of you is probably just a little better and more detailed in just the way you set your feet. I think they just make sure their feet are a little bit better in terms of the way they're placed. If that's one thing that the other person can work on, just continue to work on making sure your feet are set, particularly up front. I think that's where the young person gets the edge. Again, you both do an awesome job. In this division, your champion's going to be the young lady. The young man's going to be reserved. Let's give them both a big round of applause. They both do an awesome job.
Your junior showmanship winner this year went to Mallory Sutherland. She's also a first-year member. Let's bring in our intermediate, grades 6 through 8, John Arvin and Emily Swearingen. Back to our sponsors. Our corporate sponsors is Duke Energy, Clay County Farm Bureau Incorporated, Land O'Lakes, Ceres Solutions, Shopmar Ag, Pepsi Refreshment Services, X Hybrid, Chad Fisher. Our supporting partners are Clay County Chamber of Commerce, Weaver Farms and Trucking, Logan and Hannah Thompson, Josie's
How are you doing today?
Cosmetology,
I'm doing
Clay
good.
County
Tell me something you like
Podiatry,
about this heifer calf
Family
and
and
something you'd
Friends
like
of
to
John
change.
Arpel, Zach Ryder and Company, Quality Mulch
All right,
Products,
good
McAllister, Joe's Garage and
How are you
Barbecue,
today?
New Wave
Tell me something you like about this calf and something you'd like to change.
Boo Pediatric Dentistry, Alan Reed and Diana Knox, Family Fudge Company, and Dirk and Emily Crabb.
He kind of gets his feet right,
Uh-huh.
but I'd also like to change the something, doesn't it?
Okay. All right, good job. Looks like he likes you. Let's pull him a few steps forward, and then we're going to walk him. You can go ahead and lead off. Come this way and spin around. Or either way. I'm good either way.
Also, exhibitors, when you pick up your bucket, if you have won a banner, it will come in later. We are missing 2 banners. So if you had a banner and a champion, it will be coming in later.
Two very good intermediate showmen, and I love just the extra control that both of these exhibitors have. They've got very good relationships with their animals, and their animals definitely know who's boss, and I commend them on that. They're very calm, cool, collected, staying very relaxed, and yet still very composed. Again, when it comes down to it, I think there's one that maybe just offers a little more intensity, more eye contact, and ring awareness. I think this person's just a bit quicker in the way they can get those cattle's feet set. I think they're just a little more detailed in the way they do that. Again, I think you both do an awesome job. You both need a good round of applause. But today is going to be the young man who's going to be your champion. Young lady up front will be reserved. Let's give them both a big hand.
Your immediate champion showman went to John Arvin. He's also a first-year member. Let's bring in our senior showman, grades 9 through 12, Claire Seifels, Kaya Shaw, Drew Schultz, and Brent Weitzel.
How are you today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Tell me something you like about this guy and something you change about him.
I like that he hasn't got as tall as some Holsteins will at this age. One thing I changed is I think he needs to be filled in on the back a little more.
All right, good job. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Tell me something you like about your calf and something you'd like to change.
I really like the way he filled up. One thing I would change would also be his size. He's a little bit more, when we got him, he was a little more for run.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to change kind of how he would fill up and some little bit of a structure.
Yep. All right. Good job. How are you today? Good. Tell me something you like about her and something you can change about her.
I really like her balance, and I'd like to make her a little lighter in the front.
Okay. All right. Good job.
Exhibitors, don't forget that if you want a banner
How are you today?
placed in your
Tell me something you like about your steer and something you'd like to change about
it.
it.
It's a thank you card
I
to
like
the
how it
sponsor.
asks most of the time.
Will you please make sure that you send them? They're already addressed.
All
All you
right.
have
Good job.
to do is
We're going to
put
go
a
ahead and
stamp
start
on
walking.
them
You can go ahead and lead
and
them
say
out.
thank you.
Go right straight down and then come back along the fence.
Remember, exhibitors, thank the Arvin family for the nice buckets they donated.
Well, as we get into senior showmanship, obviously it's the most competitive group out here as far as numbers, but just in terms of competition and depth and quality of exhibitors, very, very challenging for a judge to come out and sort because all these kids have had so much time and so much experience with showing cattle that I've got to get very, very nitpicky as we get out here and just start to sort through them and find a champion in reserve in the senior division because it's tough. They all do an excellent job. They're all very well-rounded showmen. They're relaxed and they show their composure out here, yet they know where I'm at. They know what their calf needs to look like. And it's just the little things that sort some of them up and sort some of them down. I think there's two of them that work their way a little higher for me just with their extra intensity that they have. Love the eye contact. Love how quick they are to get those cattle set up. They make sure they're in line and they keep them looking extremely good the entire time. In between the two, I think the young person that's going to win, I think that calf, as soon as that calf stops, he's got it set up and it never missed a beat. Never saw it in an off spot. Very, very close attention to detail as far as feet placement goes, yet still stays very calm and does an excellent job. They're all great showmen in my book. Your champion in this division's right here with the Holstein, reserves the young man in front of him. Let's give them all a big round of applause.
Your senior showmanship this year went to Brent Weitzel. He's also a first and last year member. Brent, you also come back in for champion of champion. Let's bring in our champion of champions, Kylie Bosick, Kristen Reen, Logan Reen, and our current one is Brent Weitzel.
Uh-oh. If he does it again, we might flip-flop you to it and see if that helps. We'll see if he does it again. I just need one champion out of them, right? I don't need a reserve? Okay. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Tell me something you like about this steer and something you'd change about him.
I like how wide he is in his hips,
Mm-hmm.
and I just put more weight on him.
Okay, good job. How are you today? I'm good. Tell me something you like about him and something you'd change about him.
I like how he's filled out, but I don't like how stiff he is in his back legs and how far they tuck under when he walks.
All right, good job. How are you today? Good. Tell me something you like about this calf and something you'd change about him.
I really like his front end. I think it's pretty clean. I wish he had a little more fill on his legs.
Yep, good job. Remind me of what you like and don't like about him.
I like that he hasn't got tall.
Mhm.
A lot of Holsteins this age will get tall.
Yep.
But he also needs to be filled in quite a bit in the back.
Right. All right, good job. Everybody take a couple steps forward and we're going to start walking. Cut straight through there. Extremely good set of showmen and easily the toughest decision for me today. They call it champion of champions, so in my mind that's the best of the best and definitely the cream of the crop as we get them out here. 4 incredibly good showmen, and it's just splitting hairs and just personal preference and nitpicky things that I've got to kind of sort through in my mind to find a champion out here. I think each and every one of them, you could shuffle them all up and pick one of them, and you can justify it, and I wouldn't argue one bit, because I think you all do an awesome job. Again, for me, it's who I think's the most well-rounded, who has the ability to be the most intense, but yet still be calm, cool, and collected on the outside. They're very aggressive, and they know where I'm at all time. Extra eye contact, very, very polished individual. Always has that calf set up at all times. They all do an excellent job. All four of them are very deserving. For me, your champion of champion, and help me congratulate them. That's the young lady with the small calf. She's going to be your champion. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Nice job
The
today, buddy.
champion and champion went to Kylie Bosick.
Good job today. No problem. Nice job today. Nice job today.
This concludes the dairy show. Thanks, exhibitors, for coming.